I'm happy to introduce Jonathan Sellers and Jim Burt. If you guys just want to come on screen, if you're able to, and just give a quick intro, that would be awesome. And then Jonathan, please kick us off once we're done with the intros.
Sure. Thanks, Pal. As Pal stated, my name is Jonathan Sellers. I am an account relationship manager with the company. I handle mostly the western side of the country. Been here for a little over 14 years. I've held positions in the support team, the professional services team, and now on the sales side. I'll give Jim a chance to introduce himself, and then I'll take it back over and go over the agenda, and we'll get the webinar started.
Hi, I'm Jim Burt. I've been here for a little over, right around 15 years. I have started out in the QA department and moved on into development, and then now I'm the Chief Security Officer here at Common Sense Solutions. Been here for a long time. I really love the company and the environment, and glad you all are here this morning.
All right. Briefly covering the agenda today, we want to talk about why security matters, what steps Common Sense is taking to stay up to date with our security measures, and then we'll end it with a Q&A so that you can have an opportunity to ask any follow-up questions that you have. Why does security matter? Why are we talking about it? We're talking about it because Common Sense takes security, risk compliance as very seriously, and the three primary focuses that we're going to have are the risk, compliance, and trust. Talking about risk impacts your bottom line. Security breaches are typically financially driven. They're selling your data, and we want to minimize that risk or do everything we can to minimize that risk. Healthcare has the highest, most expensive data breach costs and penalties. There's a big target, and a lot of people are aiming, and our job is to try to keep that as secure as possible. As you know, in healthcare, there are multiple compliance steps, such as HIPAA, that are taken. Establishing and adhering to those are not only the healthcare side, but also network and data security compliance is a crucial step for staying ahead of those trying to breach your security. Keeping that compliance up to date not only minimizes the risk initially, but also reduces any penalties if there are breaches that happen to occur. And maybe most importantly, it's the trust. You have to trust our company with your data, and your partners have to trust you and your customers have to trust you to keep their data secure. It helps build your business, and it also helps maintain relationships. Jim is going to cover the security measures that we have, the security measures that we've implemented as a company to ensure that we minimize the risk, we adhere to the compliance, and we build the trust. We're going to go over access control, scans and tests, audits, and employee training. I'll go ahead and hand it off to Jim.
All right. So as we begin to move everything to the cloud, we noticed that there was a problem, and we have, some of you probably used some of our different products like GymPay and GymPause, our point of sale, GymServe, our room service software. And one of the issues that we had is you have to go into each system and log in and put your credentials, and then when you go to GymPause, you got to go over there and put in your credentials and so on and so forth, and trying to maintain all of the different passwords and what username did you use over here for these. So we came up with what we call our global user access control. So now for our products in the cloud, there's just one central location for logging into our products. And when you log in, you will see what products you have access to. There's one centralized management where you can change your password, and then you don't have to go into each application to be able to do that. You can just change it in that one spot. It's also great for, say, when you have a user leave. You just have to, disable that one user, and now they can't access any of the products. So from a security perspective, this is a much, much better solution. It also supports multi-factor authentication. We can do email verification. You can use an authenticator app, or you can use text, and that's part of that global user access control for our web products. Now, we're migrating all of them. Right now, we have GemPOS, GemServe 6, and GemPay 5, and we also have our RDS are all using Guap. So how do you set this up? So if you're a user, for example, and maybe here you have the opportunity to be able to force MFA on all of your users for your organization. But if if an organization has not chose to use MFA, for example, and an individual user wanted that MFA turned on, then there are two methods that they could use to go and enable that. First off, if you log into Guac, you can click on your username up in the upper right-hand corner, and it will bring up your ability to change your password, for example, if you need to reset that. You can see the little button there in the right-hand corner where it says enabled. You can turn on multi-factor yourself if you want to be able to use that. If your organization hasn't enabled it and you want to enable that as an individual user, you can turn that on there, and then you can set what level of or what two-factor authentication that you'd like to use, whether you want to use your phone, an authenticator app, or email. The second method is if you log into GemPOS, you can click on your user and then go to the security info tab. And inside there, it brings up basically the same window. You can change your password. You can turn that two-factor on. When you do, you can set what ability or which two-factor you would like to use. For example, if you use the Authenticator app, it'll bring up a QR code that you can scan, and then you can use that to add that authentication to be able to get into the system. That's how you do it as an individual. But say that you are in an organization and you want to force it for all of your employees, not giving them the option, then you can log into Guac, and there's an option there for you to click on your account. And when you get in there, it shows you all of the products that you have access to. And then you can see there's a tab that says security. When you go to that tab, it gives you the option to turn on the two-factor. And when you do that, then everyone in your organization will be required to use two-factor, and they'll have to register, for the SMS or the authenticator app or the phone. There's also other options. When we were looking at trying to do security, we were thinking, different organizations have different password requirements, and some have more strict, some are looser with everything. So we wanted to have a way to configure this per organization. So as an administrator in your organization, you can come in here and configure this and set these different options. And we have things like, for example, the password minimum length. You can come in here and say every user's password must be at least this number of characters, and this is the minimum length that's required. Common sense, we abide by the National Institute and Standards and Technologies guidelines. They recommend 16 characters. We found out when you're doing some of this when you're looking at how you can be attacked, it's not how complex the password is, but it's how long the password is. The longer your password is, the harder it is for a computer to guess or to be able to crack that. So you can set that password minimum length there of whatever your requirements are for your organization. Password expiration. This is how often that you want the password to be expired and have your users to be able to change their passwords. So again, with the NIST guidelines, they recommend not changing a password unless a breach is been thought that there may be some kind of breach or something. Some organizations, they change it every 60 or 90 days. Sometimes what happens though, when you have someone changing passwords often, is that they just they take your password and just add a 1 or 2 or 3 to the end of it, and that isn't very secure. So again, we try to be flexible to whatever your organization's requirements are. So if you want to change that and say, hey, we have requirements that say our users have to change their passwords every 90 days. They can certainly do that by just setting that password expiration. The password history, that's how many passwords that it keeps track of previous passwords that to prevent the user from being able to change the password or reuse the password. So, for example, if I had that set to 5, I could not reuse any of my 5 previous passwords when I go to my next password change. And you can set that again based on whatever your organization requirements are. And then password failed attempts. This is the number of attempts before your account will get locked. So some people set that to like 3 or 10. You can set that, whatever those number of attempts that you want, and then it locks the account for 20 minutes, and then it'll reset and allow them to try again. So those are some of the different options that you have. One of the questions that I get asked sometimes is, well, what about complexity? Why isn't a complexity a requirement in here? And again, to a computer, it doesn't matter how complex the password is, using an uppercase, lowercase, and 9, a number, a character. That's really just to prevent people from being able to hack or something. But to a computer, the digits are all the same, and so we decided to go and use the NIST guidelines there and set that by the password length. That's a much stronger way to do it. So that was the reasoning why we did not include complexity. What else do we do at Common Sense? We do monthly vulnerability scans against our network. We hire a third-party company. They scan our networks. They check to see if our employees are on the dark web. We get monthly reports on these things. If there's something that shows up, we try to address those concerns as quickly as possible, because our goal is to fix vulnerabilities before they can be exploited. And so we have these monthly vulnerability scans. Not only do we do monthly vulnerability scans, but we do penetration testing. So our penetration testing, again, a third-party company tests both our internal and external networks. So they try to penetrate our company from external, like a hacker would, to see, what could we get to. And then we have some utilities on the inside where they go into there and simulate what would happen if we were able to get into the systems, what is vulnerable there. And so they send us those monthly reports, and we work on trying to keep things as secure as possible. Not only do we have penetration testing on our networks, but we also do penetration testing on our products. So again, we hire another third-party company. They test our applications, and they try to do it just like a hacker would, and try to see, can we access systems that we shouldn't be able to? Can we get elevated permissions? Like, if I'm logged in as a user, is there a way that I can get admin privileges? Can I charge someone else's credit card or whatever? They go through all of these different testings. They send us those tests and reports, and we take action against those. And so again, our goal is to try to be as secure as possible with all of our products, with our networks, because we take security very seriously, and we want to be as secure as possible to protect not only our company data, but to protect your data as well. We also, with our developers, they do secure code scanning. So as they're working on the application, whenever they check in their code into the code repository, it does secure code scanning there, and then lets us know if there's issues with the code that needs to be addressed. Maybe something got introduced. We also have a QA department that does automated testing. They also do manual testing against our product before it ever hits the cloud, so that we can eliminate as many bugs as possible and eliminate as many issues as possible, so that when we do have a release, that we can feel really good about that it's gone through a good fair amount of testing. This is something that we recently moved to is our audits. We did our first SOC 2 audit last year and was able to get that. And I'm sure many of you on these calls have had to go through SOC audits before, but this was our first at Common Sense. It was basically, for those of you that have never had to go through a SOC audit, it's basically they want to make sure that you do what you say you're going to do. And so they go through all of your policies, they go through your procedures, they verify to make sure that you are complying with their standards, and that you are, doing what you say you do in your policies when it comes to security. They want to make sure that you're using two-factor like you're supposed to. They want to make sure that your applications are available like they should be. They want to know, how do you handle security incidents? We have a security team here at Common Sense. We go through tabletop exercises. If you think about the same thing when you go through a drill when you're in school and you have fire drills, we do security drills, tabletop exercises with our security team that practices incidents response. How do we respond to, say, if one of our machines got malware on it, what will we do? We do disaster recovery practices, like tabletop exercises. So what would happen in the event, should whatever come through event, maybe Microsoft's data center goes down or something like that. How do we handle these different situations? And so we practice that. We go through that with our security team. We want to make sure that our products have been QA, so we make sure that they're tested, and we want to make sure that our products are secure, and that we're doing things with encryption. And like on our web, we're using TLS encryption. With our databases, we're using transparent data encryption with the data at rest to make sure that that data is as protected as possible. And again, privacy, to make sure that only those that need the access have the access to those things. And so we try to address all of these different security concerns, and just keep trying to build. A friend of mine once told me security is like onions, like an onion. You want as many layers as possible, and that's what we strive to do with all of these different things, from the security testing that we do, with trying to do these audits to make sure that there's not something that we have a blind spot to, and those types of things. So we want as many layers of protection as possible. Not only have we done our SOC 2, but recently with our Gym2Go product, we did our PCI DSS audit, and we are PCI DSS 4.0. We just completed that for our Gym2Go product, and that one, they made a lot of changes from 3.2 to 4.0, and there was a lot more involved with that audit. But again, it's the same kind of thing like the SOC 2, where they want to make sure that when you're handling credit cards, that you do what you say you're going to do. And so we went through all of this with our auditor, and was able to get our compliance for that for Gym2Go. Not only do we do audits, but we also have training that we do with our employees. One of the easiest way to attack an organization is through phishing. There, I can, as common sense as chief security officer, I look at these reports every day at the attempts that are made at at our organization, at others organizations, where there's just so many things out there that if they can just get to one employee to click on a link or to access something that they shouldn't. And so at Common Sense, we have a third-party application that we use to filter our email to try to block as much of this as possible. That's scanning every day to make sure that, hey, the links that we have are valid, that the attachments are okay that we have, that that we're not getting something that from some weird organization that doesn't belong in our email. And so we use that every day. We also, again, when it comes to like fire drills at school, right? We practice these phishing schemes, and so we have some phishing tests that we do with our employees every month to go through and try to make sure, hey, you don't need to be clicking on this, or don't fall for this. And our employees have been doing really good about that and reporting phishing. And so I get emails every day where they'll go, "Oh, this was a phishing test," and they send that to me. And not only do we do phishing tests, but we have individual training. So every quarter, we have different security training videos and different security exercises that we go through with our employees that they're required to complete. And so we do ongoing training because we want to make sure that security is first and foremost in their mind. And so we have different webinars and seminars that they go through on a quarterly basis. And then every year we meet together as a company and we do in-person training with everyone, particularly in regards to HIPAA training. For healthcare industry, we also do additional security type training during that week. And so those are just some of the different things that we're doing here at Common Sense to try to safeguard our company and to safeguard you as our customer. So Jonathan is going to tell us the key takeaways from this, and he's muted.
Then we'll move on into Q&A after that. So overall, we're glad that you attended this webinar. We can't just have great products, which we do, but we also need to be safe about them. We need to take security as a priority. We need to try to stay ahead of the next attempts that are coming, and we need to constantly incorporate the layers that Jim was talking about into our security measures. We're the first line of defense, and Jim's security team do a great job of informing all the employees what we need to do and what we need to avoid doing. They're diligently staying on top of the latest threats and updating our policies and trainings accordingly. Lastly, we want to encourage anyone on the call or anyone that's watching this, if you suspect any data breaches, please contact our support department and let us know if it's a data breach that might impact one of our systems, and we can escalate to that security team, and they can do whatever audit or information research they need to do to determine the breach or what we can do to stop that. I think next is questions and answers.
Perfect. All right, let me take a look at that and see if we have any questions that came through. Something I'd like to throw in here as well is that oftentimes when we're talking security, I'm sure, Jonathan, it's like we're talking with prospective clients. And so we really want to put this on for our current clients because this is something that maybe as you continue to use our products doesn't become as much of a conversation. So we wanted to just bring some more awareness and highlight our security measures because you're not just our new clients, you're our existing clients, and that's something you should be made aware of as well. So with that said, in terms of questions, it's a little bit light, but I do want to, this is more of a question for Jim. If any of our customers would like any reports on our audits, is that something that they're able to get, and or how, if yes, how would they be able to request that?
Sure. If you'll contact me, you can reach me at security@csense.com. Just send me a request of that, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of our SOC 2 audit. Or if you need something for a PCI DSS audit, we'll be happy to provide that for you.
Perfect. And then Jonathan, I know you handle a lot of customer calls to you, have recurring calls. Is security something they can bring up in those calls, or how would you advise them to if they have a question about our security policies or something along those lines, they can bring that up?
Sure. We have a lot of requests for forms to be filled out. And in that situation, I would think that your account manager would be the perfect liaison between the security team on our side and the security team on your side. You can send us any forms that need to be filled out. We can arrange any calls with Jim or his team that are needed to try to alleviate any concerns you have about the security policies that we employ.
Perfect. All right, I don't see any further questions for those on the call here. If you do have any colleagues that were not able to attend but are interested, this recording will be made available most likely by tomorrow. It will be on our website. We'll do a social post on it. So feel free to share it so that way we can just continue to drive awareness on our security measures. And we hope that you found this information useful. We try to keep this short and sweet, and we look forward to having you on our future webinars. But thank you so much, everyone, for making it today. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jonathan. Everyone have a wonderful day. Yeah, thank you.